Oh, we're connected. Over here.
Okay,
Okay, Susie.
that's a big guy, look.
My ears.
Can you take your ears out?
Respect.
So do we still have to sign up sheet? Is that going
It's going around. Just a reminder for us to talk. It's the mic over here. Sometimes struggles.
So are we? Okay, everybody, if I can have your attention, thank you. Just trying to get our up to speed with our technology. There is a sign up sheet going around, so if you could just, if you're here tonight, make sure that you sign that so we can have it for our records for the minutes. This may take a little bit of Rob's attention as new people join the waiting room, but welcome. We are, first I'll introduce us in case any of you don't know us. I'm Megan Turn, I'm the chair.
I'm Henry Chandler.
Frank Parent.
We are missing 2 members tonight, so there's certain things we're going to be tabling to the next meeting because if there's an instance where someone has to recuse themselves, they can't vote with 3 people. And the first thing that we usually do is approve the minutes, which we're not going to be able to do because I wasn't at the last meeting, so we're going to table that to the next meeting. Then we are going to, I know that pretty much everybody is here for housing, so we're going to save the housing comments until after we have our housing presentation. But should there be anyone here who has public comment other than housing? Is there anyone here who came for a different reason? Okay, then.
Would the Act 250 resolution that's up tonight, does that go under housing?
The Act 250, do you mean
Tier
the Tier
1B?
1B?
Correct.
That is going to be tabled to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so no public comment. What we're going to do, because I know there's going to be a long and full conversation about housing tonight, there's a few small things that we're just going to get out of the way first so that a few people that are here don't have to wait the whole night. The first thing is that every year we do a town report dedication, and that dedication this year is going to go to Sandy Pincinel, who has been our town clerk and now our state representative. Sandy, do you want to come on up here because Rob has something to present you with?
You gotta stop. I'm gonna take a picture.
Oh, okay.
I'm not in the picture.
Do you guys want to stand up so that it's not covering your face? So Sandy, we just want to thank you for all of your hard work and service for all these years. And hold on, Rob, let's do that. How's that? Sandy, you've been an integral part of this town for such a long time, and we just want to thank you for all of your service.
Thank
you. And you will be missed.
I'm speechless. I had no idea. I figured I was gonna get something when you said I had to come to the meeting, but I didn't expect the dedication of the town report. So I'm honored, and I've spent my whole adult life in Dorset and as growing up in Manchester, and I truly, truly love this community, and I hope I represent all of us very well in Montpelier, and I will continue hopefully to do that and fight for all of us. So again, I'm speechless and teary-eyed, and I will end it at that, but thank you all so much.
Okay, and as we say goodbye to
Sign-in
Sandy,
sheet?
we are also going to be appointing our new town clerk. Jen, if you're back there, you can come on up. So Jen has been working as our assistant town clerk for, how many years has it been now?
Just about great.
Yeah, 3 years, doing a tremendous job, and this year she ran the election all on her own and did a fabulous job. And so now with Sandy stepping down, the select board would like, do we need a motion to appoint? Do we have a motion?
I so move that we appoint Jen to our town clerk position.
I have a second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Appointment sheet for just to sign. You're good. Probably.
The oath is on there.
Yeah, I hope so. Sandy, do you wanna come give Jen the oath? Official. Oh, well.
Repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I, state your name.
I, Jennifer Comer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of town clerk
that I will faithfully execute the office of town clerk
within and for the said town of Dorset,
and for the said town of Dorset,
and will therefore
and will therefore
do equal right and justice
do equal right and justice
to all.
Oh, my goodness.
Mine's not long enough anymore. And to all men, to the best of my judgment and abilities,
to all men and the judgment of my abilities,
according to law.
according to law.
I also solemnly swear
I also solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the State of Vermont
that I will support the Constitution of the state of Vermont
and of the United States.
and the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
If Brian's here, Scott's here.
Okay, so I want to start off by saying that, you know, we're all here, including those on the board and town manager, because we care about the town of Dorset, and we want to preserve its special character while also trying to address its needs. And right now, the needs that we've been trying to address with this project are housing for working families and seniors. I want to emphasize that this proposal is a preliminary proposal. Although there's been a lot of work looking at the theoretical underpinnings of housing, nothing has turned into a concrete proposal until we received this, which was just a couple of months ago. But it is preliminary. So going forward, because we have so many people here tonight, and this is a select board meeting, we do have other business we have to get to later. We have a large crowd, so what we're going to be doing is, and if you people, I hope you can hear us there. I hope that the sound is okay. I'll try to speak up. Normally we have a different mic over here. We're going to limit people to 2 minutes each to speak so that everyone can have an opportunity. We will have a hard stop at 8:30 because we have to get to the budget and other things. However, if you don't get a chance to speak tonight, or there are, you haven't said everything that you wanted to say, we are scheduling 2 informational sessions, not select board meetings, which will be solely dedicated to this, one in January and one in February. So that way we'll be sure to get input from everyone. And the other thing that I wanted to say is that we will be having something on the ballot at town meeting in March regarding the moving ahead with considering the pre-development agreement, but that's going to be on the ballot in March at town meeting. And the select board will not be voting on the pre-development agreement until after the meeting. So that being said, we're now going to turn to we're going to repeat the presentation that was done a couple of weeks ago when we first looked at it. And we've asked Brian from Whiteburg to kind of go through the presentation so that you can all see what's in it if you haven't looked through it already. Can we put it up on the screen?
Brian, is this?
I'm here. Do you want me to share my screen, Rob, or do you want to run the slideshow from there?
You can share your screen.
Hold on just a sec, if I could. All right, so I am with you tonight as your consultant to the town. We work directly with your town manager, and I am with White and Burke. My name is Brian Pine. I'm a resident of Burlington, and I have been working on this project since I joined White and Burke this past summer. Our firm was brought in to assist the town with development consulting services. I think, Rob, in 2024, I believe. So that's just a quick intro. And I'm going to go through the slides. I originally presented these slides at the last, was it the last select board meeting? It may have been the select board meeting before that, but I think it's always good to review the material. I have gathered this information from talking to Rob, from reviewing our files, but I think it's important to just point out that this is an effort which has been underway for some time now, with the focus being a way to provide housing in Dorset that serves both seniors who would like to age in place, remain in the community, but perhaps downsize into something not only smaller, but more affordable and sort of cost effective for their household, as well as working families that are looking for places to set down their roots, and Dorset being a community with very excellent schools and high quality of life, and looking to open up some opportunities for residents to join the community. This is a serious challenge across the state of Vermont. I think all of everyone who's in attendance tonight and those who are on remotely know that the housing costs in Vermont are continue to rise faster than the rate of inflation, and there's lots of pressures that are on the housing market, and towns are increasingly looking to play a role with respect to encouraging the development of new housing. Dorset, as one of the smaller towns that we're working with, but not the smallest, is trying to do its part to address the issues that are laid out here in this slide. This is a sort of very brief synopsis of the efforts that your select board and your town manager have been undertaking with the housing committee, and with a special subcommittee that focused on Raptor Lane specifically. And there's a fair amount of effort that has gone into this project, both in terms of how to ensure that the town's housing goals are being met, ensuring that there's protection of important natural resources, and ensuring that that the main objectives regarding seniors and workforce housing are achieved with any project that goes forward. You'll see in the timeline here, and the next slide goes into more detail, that the town ultimately issued what's called an RFQ, or that just stands for Request for Qualifications, in May of 2025, seeking potential developers. What that means is they've passed a certain threshold of criteria regarding do they have the capacity and the qualifications. And then the town followed up with a request for proposals, which is really the next step to say, what would you propose to develop that will meet the town's goals and objectives with this property? This timeline here lays out in more detail, going back to 2018, when the town first purchased the property. We use the term a bargain sale. It's just a way of saying that essentially the previous owner of the property sold it for a considerable discount to the town, and that was in the form of a bargain sale, which essentially equates to a donation of $1.7 million, given the value of the property at the time. So you'll see that as this process has proceeded, that there's been a number of key milestones that the town has reached, bringing us to where we are today with the proposal from SM Graves Associates. So the town has contributed significant time, but also some significant resources are being committed here. The initial assessment that the town prepared with the engineering firm looked at the issues of both drinking water and capacity for community level septic systems to determine if the property would be suitable for development. And so that work was completed last year and earlier this year, and it's available from the town manager if anybody wants to see that information. Actually, it's also on the town website. There's basically what we call due diligence and site feasibility analysis that's already been done. I just referred to, but there's additional work that needs to be done if the project is to become a reality. That the developer and the town has been discussing with respect to what we call the pre-development work and the due diligence that goes into that. What the town has committed to assist with in the pre-development work is a contribution of up to $250,000 toward the cost of pre-development. And Rob can certainly speak to where those funds come from. When you see the town making a forward commitment of up to $2 million for infrastructure, it should be noted that that is to be raised through a new state program called Community and Housing Infrastructure Program, which I'll summarize really quickly. It essentially uses the new value that's created by development, and the new tax value that comes from that is captured and used to pay the financing that the town has to take to build the infrastructure. So it sounds like a bit of a circular reasoning, but it's essentially you're counting on the new development generating new tax value, and you're committing ahead of time that that new value is going to be used to pay off the financing which the town has taken to build the infrastructure to make the development happen. It's also known as tax increment financing, but in this case, the state has adopted a new policy for project level financing, which is called CHIP, and we'll talk more about that perhaps later. So the response to the request for proposals that came from 3 different entities. One group essentially said that we have feedback for you, but we do not feel at this point that we're in a position to submit a proposal. Another group was a collaboration of Cornerstone, which serves the region and is based in Rutland, Naylor Breen, and a person who has a real estate development background by the name of Jeff Glassberg. And they came forward and said, we're interested in discussing it further with you. We don't yet know if we have a proposal, but we'd like to discuss it further. The only actual proposal that was responsive to the request for proposals came from SM Graves Associates from Rutland, and Scott is with us tonight to be able to answer any questions. His team consists of a number of development professionals that are listed here, and he can talk more about his team as we proceed through this tonight. The concept that SM Graves Associates has put forward, again, it's conceptual, is a mixed income development of up to plus or minus 125 homes, and both ownership and rental, mix of smaller detached and some larger multifamily buildings. There is some mention in that proposal for some ancillary neighborhood commercial. Think of a coffee shop or a small sort of corner store type facility to meet neighborhood needs. That this is proposed to be built in phases, perhaps even over a 10-year period. So it's not a massive project that gets built all at once. It's a project that develops kind of incrementally over time. And there's a strong commitment in that proposal articulated around concepts for green construction to reduce and limit the carbon footprint of the project. Target populations, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, young professionals and local service workers trying to buy their first homes, seniors looking to downsize, including the first responders, educators, young families, remote workers. When folks ask what are the jobs that are going to be attracting people to the region, it's important to remember that the remote workforce has grown significantly over the last 5 years, and it's projected to continue to grow significantly. And folks really are looking for the quality of life that Dorset offers and Vermont offers, and can essentially be remote workers in jobs all over the country and actually all over the world. This is what's called a site plan, which just is the aerial view of what the concept site plan for Raptor Lane that Bowman is the engineering and architecture firm that is part of Scott's part of SM Graves Associates team. And this is conceptual. They took the site and they looked at topography, they looked at infrastructure, and they laid out what could be a new neighborhood on the Raptor Lane property. So here we are. As your chair of the select board mentioned, that the pre-development agreement will be the subject of at least 2 more meetings, and then it will go to the voters on town meeting in March. Essentially, the pre-development agreement lays out the steps, the roles, the expectations, the responsibilities of both parties, both the developer and the town, with respect to how to ensure you reach a point where it's determined that the project should go forward, that it's both feasible, it's advantageous, it's advisable, it's beneficial to the community. And that is ultimately what the pre-development agreement seeks to do. And so we've laid out here what's included in that pre-development agreement. This is the final slide on our presentation, and I'll I'll send it back to you, Rob, I think, at this point. You want to open it up to questions or discussion? I'm not sure what the next step is here. I think I'm not hearing your microphones. Are you back on or?
Rob, you're muted.
There we go. We got you now. Or at least we got Scott, I should say.
The hard stuff, right?
There we are.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'll say it now that you can actually hear it because I hit the button. So Brian, we're hoping to have Scott give a little bit of an intro and just introduction to the kind of to the community, the concept, the idea, and then I think get into the questions and answers and stuff.
Great. For those of you who we did not meet in October, I am Scott Graves, founder of SM Graves Associates. I'll say just as an introduction that my team is fully committed to the tenets of this RFP. It's what attracted the project to us. Not all, but much of my team came to development from a variety of other industries, including myself. And as part of that, you know, I've built a number of technology or tech-enabled business accelerator programs, venture capital funds in different parts of the country over the years. And so to be able to engage in a project that has the kind of target markets that this one does, you know, so that people who want to downsize have the opportunity to stay in town and to mix some of the local age and wisdom, if you will, with a variety of young people who are either choosing to stay in Dorset or would desire to relocate there and contribute to the tax base. Combining people like this, building real neighborhoods of mixed experience is something that's very attractive to us. So your community's concepts for this in the first place were they are the kind of thing that we desire to participate in building. And the process, I'll speak for a moment to the process thus far. Creating a public-private partnership, as we are all trying to do, it takes intention and it takes time. And I believe so far the time that we've spent together has been time well spent. We want to make sure that from the kind of legal entities that we employ to the way that we communicate with the community and vis-a-vis, and all of the work that is upcoming that's necessary to determine, more fully flesh out the details of the project. You know, we want to make sure that from the beginning we have the right kind of agreement and we have the right kind of relationship. And I feel like thus far the process has been one that's been both positive and very gratifying for us.
So we just, all right, thank you for that. And Scott, and at this time, I know we have a lot of people here who may have questions or want to contribute. So why don't we now go to the public comment? And I'm not quite sure how we'll handle the.
So I think what we're going to try to do is we'll start in the room and we'll go through the room and then we will go through Zoom and then we will do the chat. Does that sound like a reasonable plan?
Sounds like a plan.
And I will try to, I think when you're acknowledged by the chair, state your name, and then we can go into the question and answer. And folks online, you know, give us a shout if you can't hear what's going on in the room. We spent quite a bit of money on this setup, and I'm hoping that it can function. So.
Okay, Roger.
My name is Roger Leeds. I'm a Dorset resident, and I just have do you mind just standing up so we can? Yeah.
Oh, he's got a cane.
I'm sorry. I'm waiting for a new hip. My name is Roger Leeds. I'm not gonna use my 2 minutes here. I
Okay.
just have a quick question. I take it as an article of faith that there's a housing problem in Dorset. That's the problem identification that you very ably defined. My question is, have you thought of alternative solutions other than you, the select board, other than doing something in this property? So did you go from problem identification to saying we're gonna do something in this particular property? Or did you look at other potential solutions to the housing problem that would not necessarily involve doing a development right here?
Yeah.
So I think the answer, Roger, is yes, that both work on the property and potential partnerships elsewhere has been looked into. We've had some early conversations with the VNA of the Southwest region about about infill development on a parcel of property that they own where there might be some capacity. That's in a very early informal stage. But most of the focus has been on Raptor Lane. Raptor Lane, it's a 307 acre property, but it's an 8-lot subdivision. The town's owned it since 2018. At the time, Brian had it on the slides that at the time we purchased it for $100,000. It was appraised at the time for 1.8 million. The partnership of Dworkin and Shalom were the owners that sold it to us. I'm trying to answer a question that was in the chat. They sold it to us in 2018. The primary motivation for that was that, before COVID, right, the housing market was very different than it is now. Typically there was probably realtors in the room, but anywhere from 60 to 90 homes that were on the market before COVID, kind of on average. Lots of shuffle. So at the time, that's what it was worth. Now, after the recent reassessment, it's not taxed, but the value of the developable portions of the land is at about 3.7 million. So right now, the town owning it and not having it on the tax rolls equates to about a $50,000 a year, loss that's revenue the town's not getting by owning it. Does that answer?
Also, Roger, one of the things that sort of made the focus here was that we already own this land. We had to consider something else. We might have to buy land. And here, because the developer had already subdivided it and put in some of the infrastructure, that also made it more conducive to being able to create a situation where there could be housing that wouldn't be necessarily top dollar, but you could get something for a more affordable price.
And just to kind of bookend the answer, that in part of the subcommittee review process of the group that looked at what to do when the town purchased the property in 2018, there was a little survey. It's about 105 or 110 respondents, and they ranked the different options as to what might be able to happen here. And from our kind of chronology to when we started, the first couple of things were, recreation, potentially moving this facility here, which obviously we've done, housing, energy generation, and then I think commercial use were the other ones. Starting in 2019, we partnered with the North Shore Area Trails group, and anybody that's spent time in Raptor Lane knows that we put in mountain bike trails. The town spent, between town funding and grants, we spent almost $300,000 on the recreational trails that exist on the property. We located them on the steeper slopes of the property in the area that was less suitable for development. The concept was to try to kind of protect the potential development potential at the lower part of the property, because it's an asset that the town owns, so it's all of our resources. So the thought was it's valuable potential residential real estate. Let's put the recreation stuff a little bit further up on the property.
My name is Kirsten McDonough, and I live on Route 30. My property is directly below Phase 1 and Phase 2 and Phase 3. I used to own the main quarry on Route 30, but I still own the Plateau Quarry, which is just below Phase 3. I'm extremely concerned about water. I know I have issues on my property with water, and I don't know how this is all going to be done. I know that it's going to be a main issue for the entire project, that it's water, the flow of water, where they're gonna get it, et cetera. But so I have quick questions. You just mentioned that there'd be a meeting January, February, and then a vote in March. So this is the vote on the pre-development agreement? Or what is this? Okay, and so then when will we see this pre-development agreement?
Well, that would be, we're gonna be working on that.
So it's not done yet?
No, it's not done.
Okay, and that will be published, so we can read the agreement?
That's the idea.
Okay. So I thought what he was just asking back here though was, what are other ways that the town has looked at to address the housing issue? Aside from building on this property, what other ways, things have the town looked at?
Sure. So I had mentioned the potential to partner with other entities, but the existence and ownership of Raptor Lane kind of is the fixation, because site control is the biggest need when you're talking about housing and housing development, and any other site, like we could talk about doing something there, but we don't have site
Okay,
control.
so it's really only been Raptor Lane that's been considered.
I mean, Raptor Lane has been the focus because of the site control by the town.
Okay, and then last question. How much money has the town spent on this project so far? Like a dollar amount since the beginning of the timeline on here until like today, including paying for the consultants?
Sure. So off the top of my head, I would ground truth this hopefully maybe tomorrow and follow up, but somewhere in the tune of like $175,000 probably. And that's doing environmental review to understand, it's 300 acres, where the developable areas are, where the sensitive areas are, where wetlands are, all that stuff. It's kind of led us to this point. There was an engineering review that happened at the subcommittee level, and then there was a feasibility engineering review that happened more recently with the housing committee. That's what created the concept plan. So I would follow. So the water question, is it about drinking water or storm water?
I'm concerned about the water that flows through on Phase 3. The water comes from there that goes into the Plateau Quarry.
So
and
groundwater
goes down into the lower quarry and goes underneath my driveway and underneath Route 30 and into the Battenkill and the tributaries of the Battenkill. So I'm concerned about the flow of water and how that would affect things. And I know how the issues that I've had, I just had my well fracked. So there's definite problems with all the stone.
And I think, it's a good segue. So a big part of this whole process and what the pre-development, what would happen during pre-development is the water source would have to be identified, sleuthed out, and a yield review would have to be done. And anybody that kind of understands that process, the unit count and the capacity of what could go on here is going to be directly linked to both the soils and the drinking water potential. So, we can say conceptually that there's a number that potentially could happen here, but until that actual test well and drinking water process kind of runs its course, you're not really going to know.
How are you, I'm sorry, I'm Kim Beatty. How are you ever gonna know that? I mean, if what Kirsten is talking about is the flow of water, I mean, how?
There's two different things, yeah.
And at
So,
what
go ahead.
point, once you tested for these things, since it's a phased project, let's say everything went great, but then you arrive and phase 1 is already up and running, but then you uncover problems. That was one thing I was thinking about as I read through it earlier today. is suppose you encounter problems. Are we committed to developing all three phases?
I can start with the process for stormwater and drinking water will have to go through the state of Vermont kind of permitting process. So there's design and permitting related to that. The drinking water with the well process, there's pump testing, there's an area, depending on how many people that the well is going to serve and the yield of the well. Frank can get me if I'm wrong here, but there will be a review area that they look at when they're permitting the well. And then there's a monitoring process that happens in that review area to make sure that the new well that's coming online doesn't negatively impact the wells around it. And that's just part of the requirement of a public drinking water source, which is what this would be. And in addition, there would be stormwater design, permitting, and planning that would have to address Kirsten's question of water flows and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would just add, so for those of you that don't know, I'm a civil engineer, so this is right up my alley. Some things are gonna have to be designed and proved 100%, even though it's a phase project, the well in particular. That we're gonna be subject to the same standards that the city of Burlington is subject to as a public community water system. So that is very involved, involves a lot of testing, as Rob mentioned. For a well this size, it's gonna be a 3,000 foot, 5,000 foot monitoring radius. So everyone who has a well within this certain area will be identified, be contacted, and when they do the testing on this well, if you opt in, your well will get monitored to see if there's interference. But that's going to be one of the more upfront design things to say, what can a well support? And if it comes back early that say, yeah, you can do 20 houses, that's the answer you're going to have, and that's what
talking about wells, or are we talking about septic?
Wells.
I thought let's
So
one at a time.
So just in terms of just how that might work, so you wouldn't get down the line where you've said, oh, we've got this whole project planned out, and now we find we don't have enough water. That's one of the questions that gets answered first is, how much water is actually available? On the septic side, they're also looking at that as where are the acceptable soils, how big can systems be, and how many units can be supported on outside septic.
Are they going to be taking climate change into account for to the degree that they can? For what, its effect on the aquifer, or how much water there actually is
Great
down
question for the Agency of Natural Resources.
there? Oh, great. Okay.
I mean, they update their rules fairly regularly. I don't know how much they take that into account.
Michael.
Ellen, did you have something?
No, I just, sometimes
you
can't hear.
Okay, yeah.
I have a question on process. My name is Tim Fitzsimmons. I live in Dorset. Just trying to understand, maybe from the select board and White and Burke, why we decided to proceed with the process. And SM Graves, it would seem to me that we didn't really get a qualified or competitive process out of this. We got some quality feedback from several groups that I would say are significantly more qualified and knowledgeable about this situation than SM Graves. Did we consider going back to them? Did we consider refashioning or reconstituting the process? Because it seems like it was a busted process, and we just felt compelled to work, or we were advised by White and Burke to work with SM Graves. And I'll let others comment on it, but SM Graves seems wholly unqualified for this project. So,
Good.
let me know what you think about the process.
So White and Burke helped us craft the RFP. It was an open process. The RFP itself was sent to 60 or 70 different development entities kind of in the state and in the region. We had a site visit. We had three or four entities come to the site visit and expressed interest. We had communication with all three entities. Two of the three entities basically communicated that they were not going to submit a proposal, but showed interest in doing something a little bit smaller.
Can you expand on that feedback?
Yeah, this is all in the, this is all some of the
So
wording.
if you want to know the feedback from one of them, who was a
Guys,
local.
okay, let's try to, can I answer the question?
Yeah.
First, yeah, it's already mentioned.
That would be good. Let me answer. So we're so again, the two other developers talked about having interest, but doing something smaller, based on capacity. But they ultimately
Their capacity or the capacity of the land?
their capacity. But they ultimately did not submit to the RFP as it was written. So, we wrote an RFP. It was an open process. Again, about 60 different entities were invited to respond. Graves is the one that responded. White and Burke did the review of their background and information and recommended that, that we look at the next steps, which that's where we are.
And so I think I would think then the next step is to go back to those other groups and understand why they didn't come forward with a formal proposal. Right now, you don't have a process when you only have one bid. That's not a process. There's no tension. There's no nothing there. So again, a cursory review of SM Graves would tell all of us that they're unqualified from a track record perspective, from a vertical integration perspective, and from a philosophical and approach perspective. This is not the type of project they've worked on or a town that they've worked in. So I'm kind of struggling to see. Frankly, I feel like White and Burke said, let's get this off our plate, take this and move forward.
So what information do you want from us?
Were we legally compelled to move forward if we had a proposal? And if not, can we revisit the RFP altogether? And have we approached the Naylor and Green group, the Vermont Integrated Housing Group, and said, okay, look, we didn't get the proposals that we wanted. Where do we meet in the middle here?
Well, in fairness to SM Graves, they responded fully to our RFP. We would have to have pretty good reason to, withdraw and then try to negotiate.
We can give you a lot of reasons why you should withdraw from working with them, including their lack of a track record, their lack of being a vertically integrated real estate developer. And again, I think a philosophy and approach that's been focused on Rust Belt towns in Western New England, not a town like Dorset. So I think that there's a lot of reasons, and again, we can spend a lot of time and waste a lot of time tonight going bit by bit through all of this.
Well, I think we said we're going to have a couple more meetings solely devoted to all this. So,
so I guess but it doesn't sound like there's been any thought around revisiting the RFP process, reorganizing the proposal, approaching Naylor and Green, Vermont Integrated Housing, or any of those entities, and looking if there is another discussion to be had. That's not on the table.
I think the answer is the consulting firm advised us to move forward with Graves and start the talk about pre-development. I think that's the answer.
Okay.
Hi, Nicole Mills. I live on Meadow Lane in the Village, and I also have some questions about the proposal process. Rob, Megan, Henry, Frank, thank you for all the work. I know it's a lot of work doing this, and I think everyone appreciates that there are some problems that need to be solved. But the proposal process, there were about 60, it was sent out to about 60 potential developer groups. 4 responded, 1 declined, I think came to the site visit, and I spent a lot of time reading the notes, and then didn't respond to the RFQ. 2 who were locally based did respond, and one of them actually said they firmly believe the conceptual size and quantity of housing desired is not appropriate for the town or the site. We believe the Dorset Village potable water system's integrity and capacity is a higher priority for life safety and firefighting than the housing development. Because that's a local developer who felt like this wasn't an appropriate use of this site. And the fact that we did only get 1 actual proposal, and as was just mentioned, that's not competitive. I wouldn't allow just 1 contractor to come in and bid on like my kitchen remodel or something. I would want to get pricing from a bunch and also understand it philosophically and Experientially, they were in line with my values and what I was looking for. And I'm not sure that that comes through in the proposal from Graves.
Okay, so
I
is
just,
there a question?
if there
answer,
is,
or-
how, I guess there is, maybe. How did you decide to just go with one instead of opening it back up? Does it, and I guess a follow-up to that would be, this property was zoned, right, subdivided, nobody wanted to touch it. It seems like if this was developable, it would have been developed in a place like Dorset. How come nobody else has ever come forth? And yeah, that is my question. How come nobody has developed it to date? And why would you just go with the only proposal that we received?
I'll answer the first one, or the second one first. So we went through an open RFP process, worked with a consultant who said, this is your proposal, did background review of the developer, and then said, you know, this is a viable option, you should move forward. So that's what happened. And then as to why nothing happened here, the subdivision was done in 2006. The lots went to market in like 2008 and 2009.
Not a great time for housing.
Yeah, right, kind of concurrent with the recession that happened there. And then they were taken off the market. In 2014, the town purchased the town forest property, which is the upper like 300 acres that all the trails and all that stuff is on, the Gettysburg Quarry, all that. We purchased that from the same ownership group that owned the lower 300 acres.
Sure, yeah.
And they were the ones that actually reached out to us in like 2017 about the bargain sale. So they took the lots off the market somewhere in like the 2010 timeframe, and then didn't market them until they reached out to us.
Hi, it's Larry Caruso. Question I have is, how did we arrive at the size of this project? It just seems so out of whack with the community and what we need. How did we arrive at 120 units to be put up behind here? That doesn't make sense to me.
I think, talk about the process. I mean, I think it's a town asset. The capacity, the feasibility study, the way that we structured that was to basically say, what's the largest number of what could go up there, and that's the way that they did the soil review and the planning. And it's 300 acres. But they did plan it, and Graves's concept plan kind of shows it. That instead of subdividing and using up lots and lots of land, more modern development uses a more dense approach with green space that kind of gets conserved around it. So we started with what's the most that could happen, and then that's
so the second question is, what's the need? Do we have a need to add 120 properties, bringing in, I don't know how many people it is, 2 to 4 people per property? Do we have a need for that?
So are you
from an affordable housing perspective for employees and everything else, and for senior citizens? Do we have a real need for a piece of property for a development that's that large? Yes, I understand the process to look at what's the maximum, but I'm asking what the need is, and has that evaluation been done?
So one of the things that we're talking about doing is a housing market analysis that's going to really dive deep. So there's 2 parts to that question, Larry. Like, is there a need? Like, do we need additional housing units, right? That's kind of how you phrased the first part of it. That's more of a do we need? Yeah. So I think the answer to that is yes, there's a feeling that we need more housing units of a certain type. And then the part of the pre-development and more technical process is that there's going to be a vendor that would look at the housing market, do an analysis, and then give us a report on what the need or what the capacity would be, right? So which types of units, how many, sales prices, rent prices, all that stuff would be included in that review.
And also, the other thing I was going to say is, when we say this is a preliminary proposal, the question, it left sort of open to see what developers could come up with in terms of, we did say we wanted, some condos for seniors to downsize. starter homes and some rentals, but we didn't specify how many, and we just kind of left it up to them to come up with a proposal, which was this. But that is not set in stone that it's going to be that many units or those types of units. So, you know, the housing committee hasn't given feedback yet. We haven't done the housing market analysis, and they haven't done the testing to see what it could support. So that number and those types of units is not written in stone. It's just, there are many steps to this process, so we haven't quite gotten there yet.
So how can it be, hi, I'm Heidi Boudreau, how can it be up to vote in March? Because that's a big project to do.
Yes,
It's
so.
not the project.
Right, it's not the whole project because it will still be like the pre-development agreement. Well, and Rob, you can speak to this better than I, is like an agreement to agree so that they can do the due diligence and that we can get to the next level. There would be a development agreement done after that. So what's going to be voted on is not, because at this point, we don't know all the details. It hasn't been designed, permitted.
Yeah, that's the point. So there's no design, there's no permitting that's taken place at all yet. So that's, you know, so that all has to happen and get squared away before there would be any actual concrete proposal of X units. Here's what they look like, here's what they are.
So the intention of
that
doing.
evaluation though, and then put it out for an RFP. I mean, to me, it's a little backwards.
Yeah.
No one will
Well, so
do the work because it's not feasible from a market standpoint. So no developer is going to come and say, okay, we'll do all this analysis and all that stuff, because they know that it's not a free market development. It's not possible to make money building up there without all these subsidies. So that it's not going to work. You have to have a pre-development agreement. So we're on the hook for doing all those costs. So then they can say, okay, now we'll do the project.
So the pre-development costs.
Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, Donald Heaton is my name.
So the pre-development costs are, the estimate for that's about $1 million. And that's all the design, permitting, all that review. So in order to prepare and get to a point where we could show you something that, hey, this is the concept. I mean, this is not the concept. This is what has been designed and permitted. You know, there's a lot of additional work that's got to happen between now and that point. So that's, I think when we say it's preliminary, like it's very, like there's a large sum and a lot of work that has to happen to advance it to where it's actionable.
Can I just ask quickly, how many residents are there currently, just in terms of relative to how many we're considering?
Can we get
I'm embarrassed, I'm sure I should know, but
Can we
how
get
many homes are in Dorset now?
What's your name?
Oh, sorry, Abigail Daly.
Okay, so Dorset has roughly 2,300 full-time year-round residents. We have around 1,300 homes. We have homes for more than the 2,300 that live here full-time. Obviously, we all know there's a second homes, there's a summer kind of contingent. We don't have super specific number on those people, but it's, anywhere from 600 to 800 people that spend time here in the summer and somewhere else in the winter.
I guess I'm curious about schools and fire departments and police department, like, does that all change? I mean, I understand that 125 or whatever it is the max, but I'm just in terms of, I love the idea, of course, there need to be a coffee shop, a neighborhood coffee shop, but what else needs to, when you said sort of needs to be up for the neighborhood, what else are we really looking at? And once I'm concerned about the design, the architectural integrity, is that all? I'm late to the game. I only heard about this in the last week. I clearly need to educate myself more, but I'm just curious about, is that all stuff that we will eventually vote on? What does this look like?
Sure. That's so we don't, in order to show you what it looks like, we would have to do the pre-development work to get it to a point at which it's actionable. I think to go back to the kind of why, I mean, the focus has been, there's certain types of housing units that we don't have in town that we're hoping to create. We talked about the young families. We also talked about, there's lots of people here that right now with the market, very low inventory, people that are retired, own their home, have a lot of equity in the home. It's a pretty natural progression of things to try to potentially downsize into a smaller home, stay in the community, stay engaged. When that happens, that home that they're leaving comes open, right? And that's a natural part of the market that isn't really happening right now. And that's part of what we're trying to look at and tease out. You can call on who, I'm not sure.
Can't see who's back
Hands up
there.
there. I think maybe Sandy and then.
Okay, Sandy, you go and then we'll do the back row.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go on to where her question is regarding the necessity. You talk about the school. Our school's gonna be closing because we don't have enough students. If we don't have housing that brings in younger families into our community to grow our schools, then we're gonna be without a school. Our fire department, they're desperate right now for volunteers. We have the second oldest population in the country. Our population the average is gonna be 80 years old here shortly. So that drives up our insurance costs, that drives up our housing costs, our taxes, 41% in the last 5 years. Our taxes have gone up because we don't have the housing. It's statewide, we have a housing issue. So, we keep hearing about, oh, this is gonna be affordable housing. It's not gonna be affordable. It's not gonna be affordable for the person that's 25 years old and just getting out of college. They're gonna have to have good jobs. And until we can get, everything loops around to housing. It's not gonna be Airbnbs. It's not gonna be, second homes. These are gonna be primary residents. They're gonna bring more money into our community, more money into our tax base, and more people and more young families into our community. I mean, these houses are gonna start at $350,000. What 25-year-old gets out of college with college debt can afford? You're gonna be making $100,000. And we don't even have those jobs in our area. There have to be people who are gonna be commuting or working from home and have a job in the city, because that's where the jobs are. So it's a huge twofold here, that if we don't do something, I hear it every day, almost every day, if elderly people in our community that want to downsize, but where are they gonna go? There's nothing on the market under $900,000. And if there's something that's $475,000, it's a little ranch that who would pay $475,000 for that? So there's definitely a need. And I'm looking around the room, and I'm sorry, but there's nobody here that's local that grew up here, because our kids aren't here. My kids aren't here. So, and I think I was probably the last generation. I graduated from Burbank in the late 70s. That is here. There's nobody here. And it's just gonna keep going that way. We're just gonna be older and older and older. And then there'll be no volunteer fire department, no police department, because, and we're in a desperate situation here. And yet, do we all want 100 houses? Maybe we don't want 100, but we have to start somewhere. And maybe it's phase 1, and then maybe we get phase 2. But it's very discouraging to hear not in my backyard. Well, if it's not in our backyard, where's it gonna be? And of the 175 that the town has spent, that was before we could even build this building. We had the environmental study done. We had the natural, what's the word I want? The natural resources study done. So that 175,000, that's not just for this housing project, that's for this beautiful building that we're fortunate to have. And we're lucky that we had that land that we could do that, because the building that we had in East Dorset was not feasible anymore. So I wish that I could just tell you that, just open the minds a little bit, think outside of the box and think about what this could do to the future of Dorset, because there won't be a Dorset with young people in here soon, and that's all I have to say.
Just a point, so we're really quick, so the folks online, I think what we may look to do is, if you have a question, and folks are being great about it so far, put your question into the chat function, and then we will try to go kind of quickly through that once we finish the stuff in the room, and then maybe try to go to the verbal questions online, just so that
Okay, so
we
maybe
are
we'll give
trying
like
to manage.
five more minutes here,
Yeah,
and then we'll
yeah.
give them some time, and like I said, January, February can come. Okay, there's someone way in the back against the wall, I can't see who that
I
is.
just had a question. I'm wondering
Hey,
since
could you give us your name,
my name
please?
is Luna Free, I live in Dorset, and I'm wondering a couple of things. I'm just confused about you saying with the numbers because BBA has just been growing every single year, and they can't all be coming from the mountain towns.
They're
But
coming from out of state.
okay, but they live here. So anyway, I'm wondering when you're going to, how you're going to plan on communicating everything else because I know a lot of us just didn't really know about all of this. It's just kind of come to light, the details, and some of the details aren't communicated, like the feedback seems to be brushed over. So how are you, and you're talking about doing a vote in March, but you're recognizing that a lot of the people that own homes here aren't here in the winter time, they don't show up there till the summer, but does that mean that they don't have a say, they're not going to be here? Like, the timing of all of this and how you're communicating it is just a concern for me. How are you planning on doing this so that everybody gets represented when this vote comes to actually
So
happening?
the, first of all, in terms of communication, we have been, and I know we've said this, I know it's just hard sometimes in a community to get people to pay attention when things are theoretical or just a normal course of things. But, you know, we have been talking about it at select board meetings for years. The planning commission's been talking about it. We have a housing committee. We do, our meetings are on GNAT. There have been several articles in paper that have talked about this. The specifics we haven't had because we just got this proposal maybe, I think 2 months ago was when we saw it, had it here at the select board meeting. And had those details. So before that, everything was theoretical. So we were doing a housing needs study and the housing committee was talking about things. I'm not on the housing committee, maybe Henry talked to that. But we also have had this information going out in the town email blasts, and we put links in the housing needs study for some of these other things. So that kind of communication is out there. I do very much appreciate that people, you know, unless they've actually heard about something that interests them, some of our meetings, to be honest, they can be pretty dull. You know, we go through a lot of really boring stuff. So we have been trying to get the word out, and now the word is out, which is great, which is why we have scheduled 2 info sessions to get more feedback. And what we've decided to do in March, because we don't want to wait too far into the process before we take a vote, is that we will have an advisory vote on the pre-development agreement, because there won't be anything else ready at that point to vote on. And in terms of who gets to vote, unfortunately, it's just state law that if you're registered to vote in a community, you have your principal residence, that's who would vote. And if you're out of town when that vote happens, we do absentee ballots. You can request an absentee ballot even for a local vote. So I think that there would be no reason.
Quick segue. So if you don't get the town newsletter, or if you haven't signed the sign-in sheet, I'm going to pass this back around. Put your email address out here with your name, and you can definitely get the newsletter. So anybody that doesn't get the newsletter wants to put their email address down there. So to kind of further answer the question, there's email newsletters that are where the information is going to get out. It's very likely that we would do a GNAT kind of program review to it. Do you want me to answer your question, Donna?
Sorry.
Okay. So there would be a GNAT kind of program that we would do about the, you know, here's kind of like where this sits in Dorset. Here's the process. Here's the timeline. Probably a mailing to everybody in town to try to get the word out, so that there would be, you know, hopefully we'd get to that decision-making point, and everybody would feel like they're aware of it.
I just want to make something really clear, is that the vote at town meeting is not, are we voting for this project, go out and build it. The next phase is to enter the pre-development agreement, where the site plan you saw actually gets fleshed out, where we're doing the housing study to say, okay, how many units do we need? Are they 1 bedroom? Are they 3 bedroom? How many rentals? How many own? Because right now, they came up with a plan to spur conversation, which it has, but we don't have those details yet. So the next phase is not thumbs up, thumbs down on the project. We're going to build it if you vote yes. Do we then take the time to narrow it down and figure what can work for this project? Because what you're seeing now is its potential. Maybe it'll work, but that doesn't take into account the site constraints, the actual housing needs that the housing study will derive. So just so everyone understands, March is not thumbs up, thumb down on the project. It's, do we want to move forward into the next phase and flesh it out more to come up with what a real project could be?
Yeah.
So what if we say no in March?
Well, the hope is the next 2 informational meetings that, there's going to be two routes, right? Larry, you either don't want it, you say no, or maybe there's some constructive information that the select board and the town can get to where we can start to tailor a project that does make sense. I mean, I think Megan said it really well at the beginning of the meeting, like the select board, all of us care a lot about the community, just like you do. We care about the character of the community. We want to do this the right way. So we want your input, and so I think it's twofold. It's, do you think it should happen? No. Okay. Should it, is this an issue? Yeah. Is it a need? Yeah. Okay. Well then what can we do to manage this concept to bring something online that people can support?
Okay, I think we've got to take like one more and then
There's 2 hands, maybe 2 quick.
Okay, okay, go ahead, Trish.
Rob, with all due respect, my question is for the select board and I'd like them to answer it. My name is Trisha Heaton and I have spent my whole life teaching kids in the most impoverished conditions. I worked at Burton, I worked with kids whose parents work in Dorset. They are the dishwashers. They are the chambermaids. They are not owning lawn care companies, they're working for them. They are cleaning people. They are working on roofing crews. In Manchester, they're cashiers in the gas station. Their parents are making minimum wage. I am having, and this goes with what Sandy said, I'm having a really hard time when one of you says to me, we're going to build $700,000 units for the elderly people who sell their houses for $1 million because they want to stay in town. Why are we building houses for people who are selling their houses for $1 million? Why are we building $700,000 units when we have such poverty in this state? We have food shortages for families in our community. On Friday, families are going to line up outside the Dorset church to get a food basket to be able to eat Christmas dinner, and they are going to get presents for their children because they can't afford it, and they're even going to get the wrapping paper. Why are we building $700,000 house? That's my first question. My second question is, how many of you actually Googled the builder? Because a lot of us have Googled the builder.
It's a developer, not the builder.
Scott Graves.
So there's the developer and then there's the builder that would
The
build.
builder.
There's no builder.
How many
There's no
of you,
builder.
whatever he is, how many of you yourselves have sat on your computer for hours trying to get to the bottom of who this guy is? Because a lot of us have done that. Podcaster, social media, music teacher, music store owner. What has he done that we're going to give him 300 acres and millions of dollars and tie up our tax future? How are you going to look at us and tell us that this is the guy? Because I can't find any projects he did. On his website, he has veterans building little things to put logs in. Like, what has he done that we're going to invest and sign contracts? Yes, maybe he's got some people he's going to bring in, but why are we signing a deal with him?
Okay. So as to the first question, why there would be a mix of what's essentially condominiums that would be for seniors downsizing, the reason for that was that if there could be a situation where they have some properties that are being sold at fair market value, then that goes to help the building of houses that are going to be smaller homes that they can sell for a lesser price. So it gives an incentive as
But
part
none
of
of this is really
So-
affordable housing. This is not really lower income housing at all.
Well, what
Or is it?
we're talking about is starter homes. Ken, we're talking about teachers, people like that who are looking for a house. And unfortunately, in Vermont, it's very hard to get anything lower than the $300,000 or $400,000. So there's starter homes, and then there's some condos, and then there were also rentals. So it was the mix of the housing that would sort of allow this to go forward. But Rob, did I say that well
Yeah,
enough?
Yeah, I think the general idea is that there would be both market rate and then lower cost units. The market rate units would be sold fair market value. There's some numbers in the proposals as to what that might look like. The idea is the town's
Can't answer the question?
this town's supporting.
I'm sorry, I thought I just did. I was just asking Rob to give more detail. But that was the point, that you had to have the mix to have, if you have the fair market value, just go in and build all houses that are starter homes where it's gonna cost you more to build them than it is to sell them.
In the last meeting, Frank, it may have been you, someone called someone who asked questions in the elitist. The town of Dorset is saying we need housing, but we're not housing the people that actually live here. When we're talking about building 700,000 houses, and we're building houses so that people can work remotely, move here and work remotely.
The
I
idea
don't
is that
understand
there's folks that want to downsize that live in the community that would pay fair market value for a condo unit that right now the condo units don't exist. They haven't been built, they're not available.
I think she's looking for a select board, so
Okay.
I'll.
Yeah, I think it's important
Yeah,
because the
no,
select board
absolutely.
votes. And I don't know why the town of Dorset and the citizens are giving this land and funding it, because we are gonna have to fund it, let's be real.
Yeah.
And why are we building $700,000 houses for people
Where
who
does
wanna
that number come
downsize?
from?
So I would say your question is fundamentally flawed. We're not building $700,000. What we're trying to do is come up with a mix of, back up even further. To answer your question of why hasn't somebody developed this before? It's too expensive. You can't build a neighborhood of starter homes as a builder and make enough money to do it. So even if the property had been available, no one would come up with this because a developer is going to want a bigger project where they can make money. This is not the place to make your money. So what the town is trying to do is say, we've identified this issue, we need housing. What can we do to leverage that to make it possible? So one of the things we can do is use some of our 308 acres. We're not using the entire 308 acres. It's about, I think the last time they estimated it was around 36 acres for all three phases of the project. So 10%. So we're trying to leverage what we do have, a property we bought very cheaply that had underground conduit, that had roads in it, that had stormwater infrastructure, to say, how can we use what we have to further the goal that we think is important of more housing? So that's where we're coming from with this. But the idea that we're building $700,000, that's not what we're trying to do. We're
Well, I
trying
had a
to.
select board member tell me that, just so you know.
I
I
can't
had
hear
a
you,
select
sorry.
board member tell me we were building $700,000 houses so that the elderly people who sold their house for $1 million don't have to leave town. In Rob's email to me, a private email, he said, some of these houses are for engineers. You are an engineer. Do you really think that it's appropriate? I have graduate degrees also. Do you think it's appropriate to build homes for highly educated people? Why are we not helping the people really?
Yeah, if we have to cut off. we have
I
to
think,
cut off.
Tricia, we're trying to get to a lot of people, so if you save some of those comments to, maybe the
Have any of you
informational session.
Googled Mr. Graves?
Okay, and
Is
no,
that
I have
success?
not Googled
It's
him,
not
but we did hire White and Burke.
General
who was-
concept is that
So no one on the select board.
Tricia, I'm gonna
Googled
try to
it.
answer the question. So the general concept is that some of the profit margin from the downsizing condos would be slid over to lower costs for the other lower cost units in exchange for the town, bringing the cost of the land and some of the infrastructure. That's the answer to why both units are.
And the question about Googling, no, I did not Google, but we had hired White and Burke. I mean, that's one of the things that we do is we try to hire people to help us with things that we don't know as much about. And they vetted them and recommended them.
Has anyone else Googled him on the select board?
I've worked with some of the people from White and Burke before.
No, Mr. Grove. Have you Googled him?
Can I finish my answer, please? So I've worked with White and Burke, who's the consultant we hired to run this process. I've worked with some of them before. I know their reputation, it's excellent. So when they recommended it, in good faith, I can accept that. I have not Googled them. We hear you, and it's something we'll look at.
Okay, and now, I think we really need to, we've only got 10 more minutes, and we're gonna go to some of the, should we do the questions? If there's
I'm
some
gonna try,
questions
there's
there.
been I'm gonna try to, I'll read off the question in the chat and then we'll try to.
Guys, I've been holding my arm for a while and I do would like to speak.
Tatiana, there's probably 40 people online that haven't talked to this at
I
all.
just wanna, I'm
So-
sorry, Rob, I have two properties adjoining and I pay $18,000 on taxes and I think I deserve my 2 minutes.
Tatiana,
spoken at many
you've spoken at every meeting.
When
we've
nobody
had.
was here, when nobody was here.
Okay,
You know.
I appreciate that, but there are also people, I did say before, but then no one else will be able to speak.
But I would like to fill you in what's
Okay.
happening.
Then
You know?
2 minutes, Tatiana.
I have two properties next to, so I could do 4 minutes or maybe 3.5.
You got 2 minutes.
So, yeah, thank you, Fred. So first of all, thank you very much for showing up because in the last 2 meetings, I have two properties on Black Rock Lane, which would be a padding phase 3 proposal. And I got email from Rob on October 14th saying, oh, by the way, we have a meeting and you are joining property, can you come on October 21st? 7 days prior to the meeting. So I'm a realtor for 13 years. Prior to that, I have 12 years experience in banking. And I have a broker's license, I work for Sotheby's and I sell property full-time. And I live here full-time in the area for 25 years. My husband, John Clark, is local electrician. And I'm sure, he did a lot of electrical for you guys. So I did a little study and everything. At the October 21st meeting, developer was standing right here saying that they're gonna be selling, there is no affordability here. Affordable, it's a pink cloud. They're gonna be selling small units, 1,200 square feet units for $450, $550, $750. In the middle of that, on a phase 2, they're trying to squeeze 48 rental units, around 300 square feet, maybe 400 square feet rentals, and so in general, why we don't have younger people? Because we don't have jobs, let's start from that. In order to afford the mortgage for $450,000, you have to with 10% down payment at 6%, you probably have to make around $140,000 in general as a household. I looked up at the jobs in Dorset. We have $15 an hour, $20 an hour waitressing jobs. In order to afford $550,000 units, we also have to make around $180,000 with taxes and everything. So we're looking at 8 lots that it's been developed. I went back on MLS this morning and those properties are 10, 14, 15 acres, We could sell these 8 lots, probably over 500,000 for each lot, make 4-5 million, and maybe do a rental property or something, But we don't have to give away for $1, sell for $1 beautiful land to the developer from Rockland, Enough not to mention that we have to come up with 2.2 million to help with this project, right? Let's don't forget, I just read in Manchester Journal, they actually approved on big development on Airport Road for 200 units, which majority of those people who are looking for affordable housing, most likely they will go there. Because I heard
Tatiana, can I correct something?
So-
In fairness, this project is further along than the Manchester situation. Manchester, they've done no due diligence. So I'm just saying, you're saying that the things are mutually exclusive, that Manchester is doing something, we shouldn't do anything.
No, I'm saying we don't have enough population
First of all, the market is declining. I had a ranch style home on the market for 4 or 5 months for 450,000.
Tatiana, I'm sorry,
Tatiana, I'm
we
sorry,
have other people, we have
No,
other,
no,
we
no,
have
no,
other
we can't
people who
look
want to
at-
speak.
But there's
Please.
no.
Trisha, I appreciate that, but she,
40 people online and
here's
we're
your
trying
market
to.
you've gone, Gina, she has been talking at our meetings. and
Because
we've
I was
given-
by myself and nobody was
Yes,
coming. And thank you very much for
appreciate
everybody
that,
showing up.
Tatiana, but we do also have many people who feel just as passionately have questions. So we're gonna try and answer as many of the questions as we can. And we will have, like I said, 2 informational sessions where you can speak some more.
Do you have dates on those, Megan?
I sent out some preliminary.
We're gonna figure them out tonight.
We'll have it figured out. I just have to connect with everyone. So we are,
Can I ask just who you are on the right? We've given our name. I might have missed in the beginning. 'Cause I feel like we're all the select board. I don't know who the gentleman
Me?
is. Yes.
I'm Rob Jowdy,
town
I'm town
manager?
manager. I've been town manager for 17 years.
Okay.
I live in Dorset. My 2 kids in the Dorset school. My wife runs a physical therapy clinic in town.
should we go through, is there any
I'm-
questions that we have not answered?
I'm
yet
gonna
on
try
there?
to, I'm gonna try to start at the very beginning. Andrew Cherna, has the town considered selling the property? Real quick answer to that. One of the first things that Whitenburg did with their review. So the housing committee started this idea. Guys, if we're gonna answer questions for people online, please let me do that so that we can all hear them. So Whitenburg looked at options for selling the property and potentially trying to acquire other property to do a project. And kind of the long story short, we have site control. Selling this and trying to get other property, it's just not, the property in Dorset's very valuable. It's expensive. It would be difficult to divest and have something with more opportunity elsewhere. Next question. Could you explain further this program in which real estate taxes otherwise paid? So explaining the CHIP program, does that effectively mean that property taxes from the project will not go to the town? Brian, are you still with us?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Can you
sure.
please summarize?
I'll try and explain how this works pretty quickly. We'll have an opportunity, hopefully at a future meeting, to go into more detail. But essentially what the legislature decided, and by very large margin, this was decided by both the House and the Senate and signed by the governor, the Community and Housing Infrastructure Program is the state acknowledging that the cost of developing the housing that is so desperately needed all across Vermont, that the infrastructure cost can't be factored into the developer's project cost because the numbers just don't work. It's just not economically viable. And so, as in other states, the public policy decision has been made that the new revenue from new development, in the case of a project that is approved for CHIP financing, that the infrastructure that was necessary to make public infrastructure, so that means literally the stuff that is underground, with some exceptions, but largely what is underground, the cost of that is covered by the new tax revenue generated by the development that was made possible by the infrastructure. So not 100%, but I want to mention that if a property today is producing 0 new value and you build 50 homes, for instance, and those 50 homes, come in at a value of, let's just throw out a number, $20 million for 50 homes, you have 85% of the new tax revenue that you get from those properties, both the school tax and the municipal tax, 85% gets kept by the town and used to pay back the infrastructure costs that are incurred to build the project. But I would add the 15% that is remaining is retained by the town and is used for the education fund. So it's not as if 0 taxes go to the taxing authorities of the town and the education fund, but 85% is kept to service the debt. Sorry, it could be quicker.
Thanks, Brian. Next question, have future costs of town services been assessed? Schools, transportation, medical, snow removal? Normally what happens during a permitting process is that there's a municipal kind of questionnaire, at least at the state level, that goes out to the community gives a summary of what's about to happen in terms of the impact, and then tries to answer those questions. So we don't have that information other than we did have some anecdotal information about the school enrollment has declined dramatically over the last 20 plus years. And there's a thinking that if we can get more young families in the community, that there's going to be more kids in the schools. Let's see, we talked about
I
septic.
think we're gonna have to, I mean, it's 8:30 now, so.
Okay.
we've gotta do the budget.
How much do you want to
Should like.
try to? I can try to save these, and then we can adapt a question and answer document if you want to move on.
Because I'm just afraid we're gonna run out of time to do the budget.
Okay. Do you want to set the dates for the
Okay.
two meetings?
We're not gonna let them talk.
So, but only because we have other business, like we have to approve a budget and do other just regular business for the select board, because it's a select board meeting. So I don't think we're gonna have time, I mean, unless you wanna give them another 5 minutes, but we do have a lot of other things that we have to get through on our agenda.
Rob, would it be possible for you to save the chat questions
Yeah.
and your answers would go to the people who are just verbal? Just have a verbal question? Or
Well, I've asked the folks online to put their questions into the
Everything's in the
chat
chat,
to
you
try
know?
to do it more
Oh,
quickly.
okay.
But if we're running out of time, then and if we're, the idea is that January and February meetings this would be the only thing that gets talked about.
But can I make a suggestion? So are you going to take all those questions that are coming?
Yeah, we're gonna document them,
And
Glenn,
answer
I
them,
think,
and
and
you'll
try
get
to.
back to us with those?
Yeah.
Not verbally, you can just send us an email.
I think so there was a question and answer document that got crafted in October. And we would try to add these and all the ones that we talked about tonight into that document, and then try to make it available for you. Does that
Yeah, I think
make
that's fine.
sense?
Yeah. So the dates that I was proposing were, so we've got select board January 20th, so like Tuesday, January 13th.
Do we want housing committee members to also be available for this?
I mean, I think, yeah, we want
Right.
planning commission, housing committee, everyone to be there, but if we can at least agree on a date now, then we can throw it out to everyone. Because I think we want as many people.
Yeah, the 13th works.
I'm out of town.
The 13th?
Down to 12th.
Yeah. Okay, because the next week's our select board meeting, unless we do it on like a Wednesday, the 21st.
Sure.
Wednesday, the 21st. And then in February, we could do Wednesday, February 18th, keep it on 2 Wednesdays, so.
Yeah, thank you. So, folks in the room and online, 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Folks in the room and online, the two meeting dates, if you care enough to know, January 21st at 7 p.m., February 18th at 7 p.m. And this would be the only thing that we would be talking about then, so.
So everyone.
I would go back to like, we wanna, yep, here and on Zoom. Here and on Zoom. February 18th, January 21st, 7 p.m. here
Wednesdays.
and on Zoom.
Thank you, and I'm sorry we couldn't get to everybody, but we just do have some other things that have to get done tonight.
Thank you all.
Ryan and Scott, I think we're to be continued to January 21st.
And my apologies to everybody online who didn't get to you.
Did you want to talk about the market studies? Do you want to stay on for that, Rob, or are you going to move forward on that?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Gotta go. check on. We just got paid today. Oh, gosh.
Okay. All right, so.
The idea has come up that we should start housing
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the concerns are what's the mix, so. Yeah.
Yeah, so in the, so for the board, I can talk louder.
Oh, my God. It's the cover of the town recorder, and then Loma.
Yeah, so back to the, one of the things that came up at the October meeting, and Tatiana has brought it up a couple times, and it's a really important and good point, is that, you know, we need to understand the housing market in Dorset and the area, to better understand what's feasible, like what's a reasonable amount of units, what's the pricing, what can the market, you know, support, essentially. And that's, the idea is that the proposal from Community Scale is going to look at all that, and then when we get questions about how did you come to this unit count, or this unit type, or these pricing points, where did you get that information, and we can point to the study. Both White and Burke and SM Graves are familiar with Community Scale, a lot of good things to say about them. The proposal is really good, and I think the idea is that the town kind of, you know, leading the charge with this. This is information that we need, and is helpful regardless of
This is
kind of
town-wide.
how this. Yeah, it really speaks to the why. Yeah. So the proposal's there. We looked at it last month. You know, I think the idea is that we would try to greenlight it, and then start that process. The process does include stakeholder meetings. Maybe if we can, you know, get the folks to come back that were just here, and participate in stakeholder meetings. I think you know, the stakeholder review is going to look at things like employers, and then community members as a whole, all that stuff, to try to inform the work that they do, so that we get a, you know, good product that can then inform the proposal.
And what did you say the time frame was this typically?
Scott, Brian can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe 6 months or more?
No, I don't think they'll need 6 months. I think they could take that long if necessary, but I think they'll probably have some initial findings within the first 2 months if they started to work on it right away. I think they could certainly have some early indicators. What they try to look at, though, is a much more comprehensive review of the market conditions in a given area, and they define the market as within a 45-minute commute of a town. They don't just look at what are the conditions in Dorset itself. They really look at the housing market, which is similar to the labor market, and the economy, that, you know, economic region. So it's a comprehensive review that would provide data. The nice thing about it is it's not like a real estate appraisal, which is only good for 6 months or so. It's a pretty forward-looking document as well. So it's really a great way to have a handle on what the future needs of a community will be, giving policymakers like you information that is extremely valuable. So, yeah.
If the vote in March is no, do you even do a housing market study? Where does that leave you? Where does this leave the project?
Well, I go back to the town is sitting on real estate that's worth $3.7 million. So I think that there's argument that something has to be talked about, facilitated, figured out. That's why we're hoping to get, with the informational sessions, get more information out of people so that we can commit to design something that makes sense, that works.
Okay, so, I think this makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense.
I think it just starts to answer the questions that we all
Yeah,
have.
I think we should move ahead with this,
I'll make a
as soon as
motion
possible, so
to-
it'll help give us that
To
information
execute
earlier.
the town marketing announcement.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Oh, discussion, sorry, I thought.
Rob, where do you think this money's gonna come from?
ARPA, existing ARPA funding. You have about 100 and,
170?
the exact answer. 157,000 that's available.
Yep.
That would come from that.
Okay.
All right, so, to call the question, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, so let's move on with that, because that will at least help inform us.
So Brian, so you can contact Jeff. I'll send the endorsed agreement over to him, and then we can maybe try to get a meeting together quickly.
Thank you very much. Have a great night and best good holidays for all of you.
Yeah, happy holidays, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Take care.
Okay, so we are going to table the Tier 1B application until January. So next on the list is we have to open the zoning bylaw change public hearing. But since Frank, you're recusing yourself, we're just gonna table that. We're gonna
Yeah.
recess it until the final.
They're an active client and I'm working specifically
right,
on this
I know.
property,
I get
so
it.
I feel like I
So I
have to.
move we recess it till our next meeting.
Okay,
That I could second.
okay, you can second that. All in favor, say aye. So we
Aye.
will postpone that until January. Okay. So then we can move into
The budget.
the budget. Oh, wait, there's something else in here, Rob. What was it? In the packet. The municipal resolution, what was that?
That's related to the Tier 1B.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
Yep.
This one.
So budget.
Okay, yep,
Okay.
budget.
So fiscal 27, I think there's a couple of things that have changed from November to now. One of which being an updated number for the North Shire Rescue Squad, having their new number. Their number did go up quite a bit, but a couple of years ago when we restructured the agreement with the Rescue Squad, they basically do a 2-year average for calls, and that impacts a portion of what the towns pay. So as it would happen, the calls, I think in the calls last year increased quite a bit in Dorset. So essentially they're kind of catching up because what we pay as part of the municipal services agreement is impacted by the call volume. So we're seeing a bigger increase, but that's because the call volume went up. Trying to think what else.
And is that call volume that's specific to Dorset?
Yes. Yep. So like it went from, I think maybe 200 calls to 230 calls or something like that. So pretty, when you're talking, 30 into 200 is
We're getting older.
it's a fairly significant number. So, but that's one of the changes. Trying to think about anything else. The rest of it's pretty much the same. It represents about a 7% increase from year to year. That's including, the funding for the ongoing kind of and planned highway projects, purchases, some of the design or kind of, a little bit of entry design for like the Route 7 path idea. It obviously includes the continued bond payment for the office, wage increases,
So is that kind of what
Healthcare.
everybody's doing, 3%?
yeah, yeah. Includes the additional hours for the assessing vendor to come in and basically we all the time and money and effort on the reappraisal. NEMC is the one that created that that database. When we have permit review and property visits for the assessor at the end of the year, that data kind of gets gathered, and then NEMC will help us integrate that into the grand list for the next year. At the last meeting, we talked about the sheriff contract. It's gone up a good bit the last couple of years, but it's there's not a lot of other options.
No, but yeah, we definitely need him.
Yep.
How many hours is he doing now, Ralph?
Right now, it's a minimum of 40 hours a week.
Right.
It's a minimum of 40 in the contract. Right now, it's probably 40. Like in the summertime, we flex it out, and we add evening and kind of afternoon patrols to where sometimes it's like 50. So over the course of the year, it's probably an average of 45 to 50.
Rob, I have a question on the paving of Raptor Lane. What are we talking about cost for
Sorry.
You okay?
Don't break it, you just got it.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Good night, Sandy.
Congratulations.
It's in here. So the cost of, I think we're paving Raptor to the town office and the upper portion of Danby Mountain. So it's about 75,000 to pave Raptor to here.
Okay.
Yep.
Just up to here.
Yep. And then I think about 40 to pave the middle part of Danby Mountain Road.
Yeah.
To repave where it's already paved.
Resurface, yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Someone just
Raptor would be new pavement. Danby Mountain Road would be resurfacing.
Somebody told me double that number to pave Raptor, so I'm glad to hear it's not.
And Raptor would stay the same width that it is now. It's not going to be wide.
I mean, it would be 20 to 22 feet wide. The idea is Raptor would be it would conform to a class 3 road, maybe even class 2 road spec. And if we, so right now Raptor's it's not a public road under federal highway designation.
Okay.
So if we pave it, if we designate it a class, and class 2 has some requirements that are needed, so I'm not sure whether or not it would meet it, but we'd look at adding it as either a 2 or a 3, and then we would actually start to get some federal highway money for the maintenance of it as part of that process. So and as far as the paving cost, I mean, that's pretty close to that stuff. So,
yeah,
I think my number's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's assuming, and that's
would we save much if you just did up to the top of the hill?
No.
Like you did with Danby Mountain Road, we just do.
Once you get to the
Just
flat.
that first few
You
hundred
know,
feet.
it's the quantities are more because there's no pavement, so we end up with 4 to 6 inches of pavement here, so that you may save $10,000 if you shorted it, but it wouldn't be worth it. I would say if either just don't do it or or do it. I think we're definitely going to have to do it.
Well, the other thing is lighting.
Yeah.
You're just blind.
Yeah.
Coming up that.
Well, so there's some solar lights on the sign that were working the other night, and now they're not working. So we gotta
You
fix.
mean down at?
Yeah, the sign on the big sign itself. There's not permanent lighting there, so we've got a setup that does work. We just got to get it to function. And then we have, when we designed this place, we met the zoning bylaw specs for lighting. So it's kind of like maybe that was maybe it's not enough, right? That's part of the.
Well, reflectors would make a big difference.
Yeah, it's just really black up.
Yeah, no, I think
most importantly, the entrance.
I don't know about
You can easily drive by the
Yeah,
entrance.
exactly.
At night.
That we can get a street light on. Growing pains.
Yeah. extra, like overflow parking somewhere.
Be interesting to see where they're parking tonight.
I know, 'cause
On the
there's that
road.
little
Yeah,
spot just
along the
below the
road.
road, but when you're plowing, then the edge
Yeah,
of the
it's-
road gets
Oh,
thin.
yeah, no, it's. Yeah, I mean, I can answer any questions. Ultimately, it's about a 7% increase. We do expect that, there are, with the grand list kind of matriculation stuff, we expect it to be maybe a 5 to 6% increase on the tax side.
I move that we move the budget onto public hearing at our next.
Can I ask one quick question, if you can hear me?
Yeah, who is that?
This is Dory Morgantini.
Oh, hey Dory.
Hi, Megan. First of all, I want to just thank you all because you guys are rock stars and that was a tough crowd. And I don't ever sit in on these. And so just listening to this meeting, I gotta tell you, you guys you did a fantastic job. With regard
You get paid so much money for it, Dory.
With regard to just these general increases, and I understand paving up to the town offices could be critical. That's not something I would be worried about. But when you're talking about the police force and firefighting, and Rob, you just mentioned that we have an increase from 200 to 230. I think something that you might want to address in the next meeting regarding the housing complex is the amount of infrastructure that we would need to acquire to accommodate the number of houses. And I understand it's over 10 years, but I think that's rather important, and what that would, what the impact of that might be on our tax base.
Okay.
I'm sorry to go back to that project, but it made me curious to just stay on the phone for the budget. So anyway, I'm going to mute myself now. Sorry.
Thanks, Dory. No problem. Okay.
Got a note for that question?
What's that?
I said I've got a note for that question.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what did you just do? You
He made a motion. Oh, second?
A public hearing?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. So next meeting is the public hearing for this, and we would formally approve it to get on the ballot for town meeting,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. So you can still make changes in January. Like we still have, there's still pending nonprofit petition stuff that we don't get until then. So there's I think the library might be asking for more money.
The library is asking for more this year. They
Yeah.
went up to 30
So
from
that's,
20.
I think that's one thing that would have to get adjusted into here.
Gotcha.
I think I'd have to look at it.
Yeah. The other thing, and to bring this up in new business or just now, the thing with the marble sidewalks.
Oh yeah, so the library's only 20 in here, so we'd have to add the 10,000 if they bring in a petition for 30.
Yeah.
But that's out of our control.
Yeah.
So yeah, the sidewalk, how do you wanna? So
normally, we have this little not-for-profit, which is the Marble Sidewalk Preservation Association.
Roger Squire.
Yes, and me, and Malcolm.
Oh, okay.
And now Ellen Kirby. Anyway, we've been working our way through East Dorset and Dorset. We're getting very close to the end. There's one last stretch, which is the area in front of Barrow's house and the area in front of Lindy Bowden, and we think there might be some marble under the grass. But we were thinking if we could finish that up, then we'd sort of be done with pretty much restoring all the old marble sidewalks in town. But we're in this funny position because we sometimes have trouble getting people to help us, so the town helps us out. So what's happening is last year Roger petitioned, we put the petition together, we asked the voters to appropriate like $15,000 or $18,000, it was the last year for the last couple of years,
18.
which they then give to the committee, and then we take that money and we give it back to the town. who's doing the work. So Roger was saying we're looking at something that would be over the course maybe of 2 years rather than standing out with a petition, because like right now we have money in our bank account, which we are now going to turn over to the town because they bought the things for us. So rather than having the town give us the money and then we give it back to the town, that we just put a number into the budget without having to get the 100 signatures, because essentially the money's just going in a circle. So we were thinking about maybe just putting that.
Yeah, it's getting to it. So the DMPA was created for two reasons: so people could donate money, because some of the sidewalk is not, it's on private property. That's not all on town or state right of ways. And then historically, the town as an entity, previous to, when did we start? 2015, 2014?
Yeah.
Previous to the partnership with the Dorset Marble Preservation Group, the town kind of just didn't do anything. And just had we don't have anything to do with the sidewalks, we don't claim it, we don't own it. The end result is broken marble sidewalks that people try to walk on and they fall. And that's there was an actual
upheaval.
Yeah, there was an actual kind of fall, and a suit isn't the right word, but letters sent back and forth.
Liability issues.
Yeah, and that's what kind of provocated the town to be like, okay, we need to be at least trying to facilitate these things to be improved. They're not, it's marble, but it's the town, I think, has pretty clearly said that that's what they want. But now we're at the tail end of it, and the town's doing most of the physical work, laying the marble too.
Right, because we had been using Paul Farrell's.
The local mason,
and then as part of it, we usually go and ask where the homeowner is, if they would donate something. Some do, some don't. And then we do have one or two loyal donors who support the project. But at this rate, we've got just this last stretch left. And we were thinking that since it's literally gotten to the point where Paul is no longer doing the work, that it's the highway crew is coming in there and
so really it ends up being
money is going, instead of the money going to Paul Ferentz, the money's going back to the town.
To pay for the marble.
To pay for the marble, that it just kind of makes sense to have it as a budget item rather than as a appropriation.
For the same amount. What's the amount?
Well, we were thinking 15.
I think just leave it
what you did last year.
Leave it where it was.
I think it's less than what we did last year, but just to put it in there to cover.
15 is what's in here. 17.4 was what for last year.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we're thinking.
So the thought would be to move it to just a town line item, as opposed to being voted on the ballot, because
you're saying
it's infrastructure and we're doing it all.
And will it be also next year, or will this be it?
I think it'd be 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, because the section that Megan talked about is the cost to do that's more than the 1 year allocation.
Right.
So you do it, we would bank the money and then do it again next year, and then do it in the summer of 27. Actually do the work.
Yeah. So write it in. Any objection?
Back to the library, where did we land on individual voting for requests that were over a certain dollar amount?
It was over $2,000. You have to get a petition with 100 signatures.
Okay, but then it still just goes into the budget. It's not voted on separately.
It's voted on separately.
Oh, it is voted separately.
Voted on separately.
But that being said, they almost always pass because
right. I just couldn't remember. I knew we had
assumes.
come up with a number. I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And we don't have any control over what they ask for.
Right.
Not the social service. Yeah.
Right.
No, we don't.
Once they petition, they can ask
Right.
whatever they want.
But that one does get voted individually. Okay.
Yeah.
So before the public hearing of this budget will get communicated to the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. On the website, we'll send out another email newsletter to let people know it's there.
Yeah.
There's a public hearing notice that gets published in the newspaper.
Where do we have the appropriations from last year? 'Cause mine-
The voter approved stuff, which is the bigger ones, are at the very end. And then,
Okay, my eyes are getting so bad.
well, it's kind of small. And then the budgeted appropriations are the smaller items. But I would move the highway to, the sidewalks to highway and road maintenance.
Yeah.
I would just move it into that budget.
Yeah, which
Basically.
makes sense.
And it would just be, there would be just a sidewalks line.
Yeah. I assume the BNA is gonna come back and ask for the same. Has Sandy said anything?
I haven't heard otherwise.
I haven't seen the petition. Okay, so we'll have the public hearing then at our next meeting, which will be
Twentieth.
Yep, the
January
20th.
20th is the next regular meeting.
Say that again, Robert, I couldn't hear you.
January 20th is
Our
the
next select
board meeting.
Yep.
Okay,
So that will be the public hearing.
so we'll have select board and then we have the housing the next night.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Okay. All right, so grand list errors, and was there anything else on the budget while we're there?
Nope.
Nope.
The errors and omissions, just data correction on one parcel, which lowers the value. It is it's actually one of the condo. So sorry, it's I misspoke. It's two parcels. They're both condos, and there's a change to the common land value that was corrected, so that it's actually lowering the values. So, and because it's after the close of the grand list year, it has to be approved by the select board. So what happens is the select board approves it, and then we restructure the tax bill and send out an adjusted tax bill to the property owner.
I move that we approve the errors and omissions certificate application as presented.
I will not agree with you, because we need to add the date at the top of what year the grand list
So,
is.
yep.
Then I'll agree with you.
Thank you.
So for the 2025 grand list.
Okay.
25, 26.
All right, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And is that something I have to sign?
I don't think so. I think I give them the minutes. I give Margo the minutes, and then she does the data correction.
Okay. All right. Any business?
Okay, so we met with MSK last week on the East Dorset Route 7 traffic calming design, or the conceptual design. And if you recall, we asked them to come up with cost estimates for those things, which they've done. Cost estimate for the bike path and the sidewalk, a little over $1 million. Cost estimate for bike path only, more like $930. One thing to note, the whole kind of concept with this is that we're trying to narrow the roadway on that portion of Route 7 to try to slow traffic down. One of the things that's baked into this assumption is that in both of these scenarios, the V-Trans is going to require a resurface of that whole section of the road, which is, so out of this, 1 million or 930, about 100 to 125,000 of that is the road resurface component to it. So the concept that we're looking at is trying to come up with this, pick one of these concept designs, take it to V-Trans, get their comment, and then get an idea of when V-Trans may be paving. And then if this project is then aligned with that paving schedule, that 100 to 125,000 would actually, we wouldn't pay for that. It would come out of the, it would come out of the cost because the state would be already paving at the same time. So we would incorporate this design kind of into their paving project,
When was the last
which
time
would
it was
then
paved? Do
lower
you
the
remember?
number. It's been about 10 years, I think.
Okay, so that must mean it must be coming up sometime.
It's supposed to be, but the section of Route 30 from Rupert to Pollitt was supposed to be done like last year, I think, or 2 years ago, and that's been punted. So there's a lot of,
Delays.
it's unclear as to when. So, but we will get what'll happen is, what we're hoping for is the board can, which one of these two options do you like? The bike path side option includes narrowing the road, adding curb, a grass buffer with landscaping, and then the path. So there's a lot of space there, which is really great, and it really would be a really nice version of a path like that. So it's just something to some input to give you. So that the idea is that we would tell MSK we like this kind of concept. Then MSK is going to take that concept, take it to VTrans and get comments on it. And then that might change some of the stuff and some of the costs. And then we would update the board once we get that information. And hopefully included with that information would be this is when they're going to pave. And this is, so the idea is like, okay, it's $1 million, but if it was, 700 and we saved for a couple of years, concurrent with their their time frame,
Right.
is it something that we could, pull off or do? So I will answer any questions, but I think, do you like the bike path and sidewalk, or do you want to just do one side, bike path on the one side? And the sidewalk, if you've seen the schematic, it goes to the to the store, from the store to kind of the, there's commercial buildings and an apartment building on Blue Spruce. So there is there are communities there that doing wood walk from there to the store is kind of the thinking. But if you can see, it's about, if you take the sidewalk out, it's about $100,000 savings.
Right.
From East Dorset.
You're putting it on me, is what you're saying.
Actually, I think the whole, maybe we should wait till the whole board.
I was thinking I wouldn't mind getting.
Yep. I
more
agree,
input.
because it's a big price tag.
It's a lot.
Big price.
It is a lot.
Yeah, there's no pending deadline.
Okay. Well,
Punt.
let's table that.
Tabling everything
Full
tonight. This is
board.
great.
Okay.
This won't bite us in the rear later.
I'll get to the short-term rentals are up to 58 units registered, and we're now into the point where we have to charge people for the second year, and that's been a learning experience for everyone involved. So
What? Again?
yeah. So it's town office. The building demolition is completed. I think Herman Construction did a really good job. They had to partner and work with Catamount Environmental to mitigate and manage the vermiculite portion of the old office, which, as far as I'm aware, was all done the way it was supposed to be done, even though it was 4 degrees.
Yeah, I know.
With a foot of snow on the ground. So we're well on our way. I think the parking lot still has to come out, and then some other kind of prep work that once the snow is gone, we can start to get it ready for grass to grow in the spring, which will be really good. The other stuff, there's really no updates. We did get an attorney to represent the town for the BCA appeal to the Superior Court.
Right.
And that the initial date for that is the 22nd of December, but that's just the starting of the judge saying, go out and do discovery, and here's your timeline for that. And so it's about a 8 to 10 month process. One of the things that'll happen early in that process is that our attorney will meet with the property owner's attorney, and they will try to, is there common ground? Is there something that we can talk about that makes sense? The review is de novo, which means it starts over completely, and the court will basically say, give us all the information and we will make a decision. So what's likely to happen is we will, there'll be some form of a proposal to the board to approve probably an appraisal, an outside appraisal of the property, which we expect to be maybe about $1,000 or something like that. And then that would, that appraisal would then go to the attorney, and the attorney would then, that would inform the process. So that the property owner has their own appraisal, we would have an appraisal, and then you'd kind of work through, work through the court process. So, and again, could be a 10-month process, but that's it for old business.
Finance report.
Delinquent taxes, it's year over year, pretty much identical. There is one of the payment plans in the delinquent tax realm. They're in the second month of default of the payment plan after 3 months of doing pretty good. So we're gonna have to let the attorney know about that and kind of start the process again, I think. As far as fiscal 26, similar to last month, we're about halfway through the year. We're maybe about 51% expended on the general fund. Things pretty normal. I think we've got one more reimbursement for the town office building related to soft costs. We finally got a bill, I think, from McClay to kind of round out their work. So at that point, we'll be able to recapture all that and then be done with that with that cash flow piece. As far as the sinking fund balances, they all sit there. You can kind of see. There's not. I think that the biggest one that's changed is probably the Whitenberg number has been updated, and then I will soon be updating the Maton road site number with some of the demo costs. So you'll see actually what we've paid for out of that 175. That's it.
If the winter keeps going like this, we're gonna have some singing.
We have a truck that's sitting in Williston that is brand new that we're hope to be using right now. The other truck is still functioning, but it's like needed a lot of TLC at the end of last year, and it's like already needed some TLC after the first couple of storms. It would be nice to kind of set it there as a backup for a little bit, and then we'll probably sell it. But we've had 6 or 7 storm events already.
I know.
Anytime they come out and they do a route, we consider that a storm event.
Okay, do you have a motion to approve the finance report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
For me this time, but
Is the manager gonna put it on the screen? It's not. I guess it really did.
And we're just gonna go fast because I gotta get to the bus station.
Yep, okay, yeah, sorry, so the manager's report isn't in there, I'll send it around, there's not a lot to talk about that we
Haven't
already,
talked
or
about.
that we didn't already talk
Do
about.
we need to sign warrants?
Warrants are here.
while we're signing, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I think that's it.
Perfect. Thanks, guys, sorry. My daughter arrived. She's going to be sitting